like that. Woo!
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, aka B Jizzle. Before we can start, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe all of our YouTube videos. Hit that like button, y'all come in here. Hit the share, subscribe. Hit that Cash App, $ BJ Matthews, $ BJ Matthews for all this great content. If you guys have not already subscribed to the show, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and hit that share button to share with your family and friends who are NBA fans of the game. And last but not least, get your membership badges that are available today. 3 options. We got the pull-up badge, we got the LA Clipper badge, and we got the interview badge. All 3 badges are available. If you guys go to our YouTube page, you guys will be able to see those options on our front home page. Let's get it popping. All right, y'all. So we got a great show for y'all today, man. Like I said, we're gonna start doing these little videos, recorded videos, pre-recorded videos, more and more, especially towards the end of the season, going into the playoffs. I gotta pick up more, be better. I'm doing all these pre-recorded videos, 3 a week that I promised to people who have membership badges. So I will definitely be getting on that more and more. But this is a video right here that was kind of inspired. But one of my guys who knows another YouTube content creator, who is Hendo. If you guys do not know who is Hendo, go in and follow my man who is Hendo, WHOISHENDOUGH, who is Hendo. One of the content creators that I really respect on the YouTube streets. What's ironic is me and him had a little bit of a rough start starting off, but since then it's been all respect. Even in our little spat, it really wasn't really much. It was just basically, I guess one team defending their own team, which was me, and him just speaking on his truth about how he felt about the team and stuff like that. So even through that little spat, I said to myself, I kind of like this dude because I could tell he knows basketball. I could tell that he can break the game down in a big big way, which is very rare for somebody like me. Like, there's not too many people that even on YouTube or whatever, in regular life, that I can really sit down and have a real breakdown with. Like, I'm talking about, like, talk to them about hours, about basketball and games, and how certain players are on the court and things like that. There's very few people I can have that talk with, who's played, who has that IQ, has that experience. Very few people. You know what I mean? Probably I can count on one hand. You talk about YouTube content creators that I have that respect for, but some of the people that I really kind of have that amount of fervor for, who is Hendo. He's one of them. I listen to his videos all the time. He's still growing his following, so make sure you guys go and follow my man who is Hendo. He definitely knows the game like the back of his hand. So I was watching one of his videos last night, and it was about James Harden, Luka Doncic, right? He had said, is Luka Doncic James Harden 2.0? And I said, yeah, let me go ahead and click on this. You know what I mean? Because I think this is a subject that a lot of people get a chance to really kind of discuss. And it's kind of been echoed for the last few years. Harden and Luka kind of compare. As far as their playing style, their body size, and how they dominate the basketball. Like, they do have some comparisons. Luka has also been compared to LeBron James, but to this video, who is Hendo basically said is Luka Doncic 2.0 James Harden. I will put that link into the description box at the conclusion of this video. Very, very good video, and I liked a lot of the things that he said. And I'm gonna kind of get real deep into this because I don't think I've done this video yet. But who is the better player? Houston Rockets James Harden or Dallas Mavericks Luka Doncic? And the reason I word it like that is for a specific reason, because of course Luka is in his sixth season, and Harden's in his 15th. So it's hard to compare the careers in general. So what I chose to do is I compared what they were, in their primes. I compared, a little bit more, like, James Harden's played 8 seasons with the Rockets. 6 of those seasons were deep runs into the playoffs, at least past the first round. And Luka Doncic's in his 6th season right now, so I thought that was the perfect, timeline between the two, Rockets James Harden to Dallas Mavericks Luka Doncic. Now, what I'm gonna do is kind of go through a number of sequences about the two players. their different aspects of their game, their resumes, their scoring, their intangibles, their playing styles. You know, who does what better, and then I can go into my conclusion at the end, right? So y'all sit back and enjoy this. Um, so first thing I want to do is I want to go into, like, you know, their resumes and what they've both accomplished. Now, of course, like I said, Luka's been in the league for 6 years. James Harden's 15, right? You know, Luka's been to 3 playoffs to James Harden's 14, and then All-Star games 5 to 10. You know, James Harden's been to 10, Luka's been to 5. Like I said, it's hard to compare their full careers because one guy's played 9 more seasons than the other. So what you're gonna be doing is the stats, the numbers, the accomplishments, the accolades are gonna fall in favor for James Harden, just naturally so. So I don't think that's gonna be a good way of looking at, you know, who was the better player, who was the, you know what I'm saying, the person I prefer on my team. It's hard to really make that discussion. So you have to lower James Harden's career to shorten his career a little bit. But you know, just looking at it just on a, you know, a raw scale, of course, um, the playoffs, you know, Harden has made it to every single playoff outside of this season where, you know, the season hasn't finished yet. And you know, Luka is, you know, he's missed 2 playoffs already, and he's in danger of missing another one. Right. So that's all I can really kind of take from that. Um, honors and awards, 0 to 1. Harden with 1 season MVP, you know, to Luka 0. Um, you know, Luka has 4 seasons to Harden 6. All NBA teams 4 to 7 goes to Harden. 0 3 scoring leader goes to Harden. 0 2 assist leader goes to Harden. Rookie of the year, Luka has 1. James Harden has 0. Now, I kind of want to get into a little bit of a lot of different, you know, aspects of this, right? Now, like I said, Luka and Harden do share a lot of the similarities, right? They do share a lot of things that in common. They're both very ball dominant. They both like to score. They both like the ball in their hands. They both can, you know, score, rebound, assist. Both, you know, offensively are, you know, probably 1 and 2, you know, in their best years with their, you know, uniforms on. Of course, Luka is only 24 years old, so he's still not even really reached his prime yet, right? You usually reach your prime when you're 27, 28. Usually. Now, sometimes people may say, well, you know, they're peaking early. Well, yeah, they're peaking early, but their prime is a little bit, it's extended past their peak. The peak is when you're actually at your best, right? And that's why I look about age 27, 20, about 27 to about 30, 31 years old. That's when you probably play your best basketball generally, right? But Harden has already reached that point. Luka's still, you know, going to that point. So it's even Luka's a little bit far ahead of schedule. So that kind of is in Luka's favor that, you know, he's still doing what he's doing at his age. That Harden, you know, he had to grow into that role because, you know, remember this first 3 seasons he was playing under Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. So he didn't have the opportunity to have the ball in his hands. He didn't have the opportunity to, you know what I'm saying, score the ball and, you know, kind of have his own team until he got to Houston. Right. So it falls in favor that Luka kind of had his own team right away, and Harding had 2-3 years to actually, you know what I'm saying, grow into his new team before he moved to Houston. Now, when I talk about this subject, who's the better player between Rockets James Harden and Luka Doncic, Dallas Mavericks? There's a lot of aspects that we have to discuss. Right? I already took down the resumes and things of that nature. Now I want to kind of go into, you know, some of their physical and some of their game, what their game is like. Now, Harden, if you guys remember in Houston, they looked at Harden as a very ball dominant player, dribble, dribble, dribble. You know what I'm saying? Looking to score, looking to, you know what I'm saying, get his own shot off. Sometimes he would over dribble the basketball, and then probably sometimes people did not like his playing style. I'm gonna be honest, I was not a big fan of James Harden's playing style until he probably got to like Brooklyn. Because even in Houston, the way he played was basically, I thought, in my opinion, you know, I wouldn't want to play with him because at least as a wing player, because now it's like he has the ball majority of his hands, and you got a guy who likes to score the basketball. You know, you're not gonna really want to play with Harden because he's gonna be the one putting up the shots, or he's gonna be the one throwing the ball all the oops to his, you know, his big man. You have to basically play in his system. That's how James Harden operates. That's even how he operates a little bit to this day. You know, you have to fit his system for him to be the best version of himself. If you don't fit his system, then you take away from what Harden does best, which is control the basketball. That's what Harden is known to do. That's what he's used to doing, right? The same thing with Luka Doncic. If you take away what he does best, which is control the basketball, then what you're doing is making him a less version of himself. That's how Luka Doncic operates. Again, he does the same thing Harden did with Houston. He likes to dribble the ball. He likes to control the offense. He likes to have the ball in his hands to be who he is. So really, this is a discussion about who is a more effective player with their system ball dominant, Luka or James Harden, right? But they're both similar in that way. Now, of course, there are certain things that their games are different. Like with James Harden's ball dominance, if you guys remember watching him play, his style would basically just be, he was more quicker, more elusive. He can get to the cup more at will, more bouncy, more athletic. You know what I mean? His ball dominance, I thought, was more elusive than Luka Doncic is. How he gets to the basket, how he gets to the cup. Y'all gotta remember, James Harden used to get to the cup. He was very, very, very fast, especially in the open court. Right? He was very, very elusive. He would get the ball out and he would run. He would, in a half court, he would be able to drive past defenders like it was nothing. His tween crossover to the basket was deadly. Tween step back three, deadly. Right? Tween, you get to the basket, assist, dunk, deadly. Like, he had a lot of ways where he can kill you. Right? He can even, before earlier in the Houston years, he would even, play off the ball, and especially in the mid range. Now you look at a guy like Luka's ball dominance. He's not really looking to, just, go past you with speed. He's looking to go past you with, craftiness, right? I think Luka likes to play more in the post. I think Luka, uses his footwork, his pivots, things of that nature to kind of, get you off balance. But he's not going past you in the open court. He's not, driving past you at will. He's not, looking to finish over you, at an alarming rate. He's going to use his craftiness to kill you. That's how Luka Doncic operates. He's a little bit bigger than James Harden. I wouldn't say by much, but he is a little bit bigger as far as body size. He's a little bit taller. So he doesn't have the speed that Harden had, but the ball dominance is very similar between these two guys. As y'all come in here, hit that like button. We're talking about who's the better version, Rockets James Harden or Mavericks Luka Doncic. Now that we got that out the way, they're both ball dominant, but they're ball dominant in different ways, how they, score the basketball. We have to go into the aspect of just that, scoring the basketball. How is both these guys, as scorers, right? How these guys are both as scorers. They're both great scorers. They're both great offensive threats. They both, have, been crazy in the league as far as, scoring the basketball. This is probably the most similar thing that they do well. They are, they're bucket getters. That's what probably the most similar thing that they do. Right? They both, people see how they put the basketball on they put the ball in the basket. Now, scoring, to me, again, we have to look at just not their raw, just, career numbers. But like I said, Luka is a part of his career that James Harden still, that he's still, Luka Doncic is probably in a part of his career that he's still got some years to go where we actually probably can see the best of him. Now, I don't think Luka's going to get much better than what he's getting right now, because, again, he's peaked early. But we have to still give him that, benefit of the doubt, because he is so young still. He's only 24 years old, right? He's still pretty young. Now, I look at their best season, not just, their raw numbers. I look at what's been their best seasons. Right, I look at Harden's best season compared to Luka Doncic's best season. Right now, we look at both of these guys. I like to compare stats, basically, who did what in their best season scoring the basketball. Right, you look at Luka Doncic compared to James Harden, and these are the categories: scoring, rebounding, assisting, steals, and blocks. Let's focus on just the scoring for the most part. Harden, if you guys don't remember, Harden at one point was looked at as a guy who can, be one of the best scorers of all time, right? They were talking about him compared to Jordan, Kobe, KD, those type of players. James Harden was in those talks for a certain period of time. If you guys remember 2019, James Harden, the regular season, the man was magical. Actually, you can say for like 3, 4 seasons straight, Harden was, I think he was averaging over 35 points a game. He's has 3 scoring titles, right? The highest he's ever averaged was 36.1. And I think comparing that to Kobe and Jordan his highs was 37.1. I think Kobe's was 35.4 in 2006. Or was it 2000? Yeah, 2006. So Harden, as far as a scorer, as far as the raw numbers, his best season was better than Luka Doncic's best season, which is this year was 34.6, right? And I think a little bit of an era where the defense is a little bit worse, even though it's a 5-year gap. I think Harden, him scoring in that era was a little bit more impressive than what Luka's doing right now, because the game is, I mean, look at the All-Star game. You got guys, they're scoring 200 points. Defense is pretty much allergic at this point in the NBA. So as far as the scoring aspect, with Harden scoring the ball more, what I'm saying, at an alarming rate, the ways he can score the ball, he's a better, free throw shooter. Of course, he was averaging, I think, 90% from the free throw line. Luka Doncic is somewhere around 70, 75%, which really makes no sense, because the people that come from overseas in the European countries take a lot of pride in their shooting and their free throws. So it doesn't really make sense that Luka is so bad on the free throw line, because he can generate a lot of points. A lot of points that Harden was generating came from the free throw line. If Luka can knock down those free throws, you're talking about somebody can probably go from 34 to about 38 in this era, especially with the amount of fouls he draws. I thought, like I said, Harden gets to the basket better than Luka Doncic. I think he's a better three-point shooter than Luka Doncic. I think he's a better mid-range shooter than Luka Doncic. Now, Luka, to me, is better in the post. He's better with his, footwork around like the mid post and the elbow and stuff like that, and the low post. But other than that, James Harden scores the ball in more ways than Luka Doncic does, and he hits his free throws, and I think he controls the offense better, right? Now, if you look at the other categories, you see that 4 out of 5 categories, that James Harden had better numbers than Luka, better numbers than him. He's had better numbers than him and Luka Doncic. The only year that Luka Doncic had better numbers was the rebounding aspect, where he's averaged 9.4 to 8.1 James Harden. But all the other categories, as far as which their best seasons, James Harden's had better numbers. So in the scoring aspect, as far as the raw numbers, in their best seasons, I'm going to give that to James Harden. So that's one aspect of the game, scoring the ball. Let's go to defense. Now, defensively, when we talk about Luka Doncic versus James Harden, they're both two guys that, for the most part of their careers, didn't really focus on defense, right? But there's a difference caveat between the two. Now, like I said, if we start with somebody like Luka Doncic, now you have people, and this is something I like that Who is Hendo pointed out last night. You have a lot of Luka Doncic fans saying that Luka Doncic's defense got so good, he's actually a better defender than what he was, this, that, and the other. But they don't really elaborate what that means when they say he's a better defender than what he was. He's gotten better. Let's be frank about something. Luka's one-on-one defense is below average, very similar to Nikola Jokic. It's not something that you can really say his defense has gotten better without bringing that up. What I mean that his defense is below average, that when you talk about somebody who's guarding on ball at his position, or has to deal with the pick and roll, or deal with different defensive coverages, you can exploit Luka Doncic. I mean, look at this picture just right here with Chris Paul. If you remember in the 2022 NBA playoffs, the first 2 games they targeted Luka on defense. I'm talking about Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Now, of course, the Mavs came back and won that series, and Luka Doncic, put those boys to rest. But defensively, Luka Doncic, we all know, is a liability on defense. I mean, because some of just his physical intangibles and what he's able to do, his quickness is just not there compared to some of these other NBA players. So when Luka fans say that, his defense has gotten this, that, and the other, I kind of similarly see something with Jokic. yeah, Jokic, has good reflexes. Jokic, you know what I'm saying, um, can strip balls. He has pretty quick hands, things of that nature. But as far as one-on-one defense, if you have an opportunity, you can exploit Nikola Jokic. He does not want to guard one-on-one. He's a good help side defender, right? Defense, as far as what I'm concerned, you better be able to guard your man head up. But when you can be hot hidden and targeted and stuff like that, that means you're a liability on defense, because the team and the coach understands that we have to actually make sure that we don't allow you to get exploited. That's how Luka Doncic is. He can't just guard one-on-one for an entire game or entire series, because he understands that he doesn't have the quickness nor the physical intangibles to keep up. And that's just the fact of the matter. So I'm going to have to rate Luka Doncic's defense below average. Now, James Harden, for all intents and purposes, people say that his defense is bad or he doesn't play defense, this, that, and the other. But there's a picture right here I'm going to show y'all. When Harden was on the Thunder for many of the seasons he was there, the 3 seasons he was there, he was coming off the bench as a 6-man. And a lot of the matchups, you guys remember, James Harden would check the best player on the other team. Kobe Bryant, my favorite player of all time. If you guys don't remember that 2013 NBA playoffs, Harden, the Thunder beat the Lakers in 6 games in the playoffs in the second round. Kobe said the best player, the most impactful player, or the most important player wasn't Kevin Durant, it wasn't Russell Westbrook, it was James Harden. He was the X factor of that series. Harden, if you guys will go back and watch, was a very, very good defender when the team called him to be so. It called him to be a person that could be able to guard Kobe Bryant in that series. That's what James Harden was at that time. But when he got to Houston, he had to actually take his defensive game back because he was so responsible for everything else. See, in basketball, and that's another thing people got to understand. You got to look at the game like this. You got scoring, defense, those 2 aspects. You got 2 sides of the basketball, offense and defense. More times than not, your defense is going to take a hit if you're a great offensive player, and your offense is going to take a hit if you're a great defensive player. The hardest thing in basketball to do is be a two-way player. That's why I respect guys so much like Jordan, Kobe, Kawhi, Paul George, I'm saying LeBron James in his Miami Heat days, Kevin Durant and Golden State Warriors. Like, those type of players those are two-way elite players at that time. That's the hardest thing to do in basketball. So when James Harden comes to a Houston Rockets, where now his shot attempts go up, his offensive responsibility goes up, this, that, and the other, his defense is going to take a hit. So that's why you saw him in Houston taking certain plays off on defense, not, always, putting effort, on one-on-one ball defense, but his reflexes, his physical intangibles, him stripping balls away, stuff like he even does with the Clippers, he can do that at a much higher rate than Luka Doncic. So James Harden is an actually very good defender when he doesn't have the responsibility so much on offense. He's not the best with sliding his feet, but I've seen James Harden many times, many possessions, be able to lock players down on defense, even in the low post. Very good low post defender, very, very strong base, bottom. Defensively, it's not even a question who's a better defender between the two. Right? So those are 2 aspects, scoring and defense, that Harden has the upper hand over. Now, as y'all come in here, smash that like button. We're talking about who's the better player, Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, James Harden's Houston Rockets days. Now, those 2 aspects right there. Now, this is an aspect right here where it becomes very, very interesting. It's the IQ, right? Now, IQ, of course, is basically understanding the game, understanding how to actually not only get yourself off, but get your teammates off. What do you see on the basketball court that others don't see? This is the brain thinking part of the game, right? This is the part of the game where you look at them like, okay, well, do they understand aspects in certain instances, as far as, controlling the tempo, controlling the game, taking over the game, knowing when to pass, knowing when to shoot, knowing when to cut, the IQ of the game. That's what that falls in when you talk about the mindset. So Luka, obviously from Europe, right? If you guys have not really watched overseas basketball or actually played over there, like I played over there, you guys know I'm an overseas former player. The IQ, in my opinion, separates themselves for the players today in the NBA. Right? A lot of these guys in the NBA are coming from this AAU system where they're not teaching the game of basketball. That's why I have such an issue with the AAU system nowadays. They're not teaching these guys the game of basketball. Kobe Bryant said it. Um, Robert Ory said it. A lot of players have said that the IQ here has dropped. A lot of these players in the NBA simply their IQ is just not taking them anywhere. They're getting by based off their talent, their athleticism, and of course their skills. You know what I'm saying? Because they can shoot, dribble, all that not good stuff. But they don't know how to do a proper back cut. They don't know how to actually defend off the ball. They don't know how to their shooting mechanics are not the greatest. They over dribble. They don't take pride in defense for the most part. That's what you see with a lot of this with the AAU scene and players coming up in the NBA and that. While overseas, you have to learn the fundamentals before you even touch the floor. You got to understand what it means to have good footwork. You have to understand when to shoot, when to pass, how to run in transition, how to be in defensive position properly, taking charges, playing for the next team. You don't see them making the same mistakes they have over here, over there, than over here. That's why a lot of these overseas players, like Luka Doncic, like Nikola Jokic, like Domantas Sabonis, who else am I thinking of? A lot of the guys coming up from overseas and playing here for a long period of time, they already have the mechanics down because that's really all they have to they can really go with because they're not super gifted athletically or physically. So they have to depend on their fundamentals just to be able to have a chance. So that falls into the IQ. They're the thinking, the mindset of the game is how they get over and get their leverage. They beat people over here with their mindset. So when you compare this right here, Luka versus James Harden, Luka's IQ definitely is elite. He definitely sees things that other people don't see on the court, and he definitely came into the league ahead of his time. Right? He definitely came into the league. He understands angles. He understands, he may see a pass that the opponent or his teammate might not even see. And I think he's been a pro since he's been 16 years old, or 13 or 16, one of those two ages. So he's already learned the game at a high level and been, blessed enough to, play against pros. So that obviously feeds into his IQ. Right? So his IQ is definitely elite. Some of the things that of course he may, do at times, like turn the ball over or, miss free throws, that's part of your IQ as well. A lot of stuff that, Luka's, still needs to, tighten up on. For the stuff at his age, he's ahead of the game. Right? As a point guard, he's able to, give you high assists. He's able to, score at a high level. But, it's something where I think Luka Doncic, is a very, very elite player when it comes to the IQ. Now, James Harden, a lot of times, James Harden, has the same IQ. He would see things, like I said before, a lot of James Harden's turnovers, if you really watched him play, especially in Houston, it came off of more so him seeing something and turning the ball over, making a bad pass, than him just basically being like, oh, well, I'm just going to turn the ball over. Are there times that he did turn the ball over when somebody pressures him? Yes. But I've seen a lot of turnovers with James Harden. Actually, seeing a good pass or seeing a great play that his teammate might not see. Like I said, go back and watch Harden's Houston highlights from about 2013 all the way to about 2019. I mean, the man was elusive. He get past any defender you put in front of him. Even the coverages you have to put on him. A lot of times, people don't even account to this. James Harden has some of the most hardest defensive covers I've ever seen in NBA. I'm talking about the double teams, having 2-3 defenders running at him. He was that much of a threat. The system that he had, as far as by himself, was very, 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 very deadly. Like teams used to, come at this man at half court, running, running coverages at him. So when we talk about the turnovers he has and stuff like that, let's talk about the defenders that they would throw at him to force those type of, turnovers. But as far as the IQ, going back to what I was saying between Luka and James Harden, I think it's very, very close. But I would have to give the nod to Luka only because I think Luka Doncic is a little bit more. I think I don't think you can really speed him up. You can't speed Luka Doncic up. You can speed James Harden up, whether that just be by him just wanting to get out and run. But I've seen Harden at times, look a little bit rattled. You can actually speed his game up. Luka, he is the same speed, same motion, same under control. Um, even if he turns it over, you're not going to speed him up. You're not going to actually make him go faster than what he's used to going to, usually. So I think that comes into basically him seeing things and him being able to, play at a pace that you're not going to rattle him. So that's one instinct. Another instinct, I'm gonna let y'all, go in a little bit, is the one-on-one aspect. Now, Luka and Harden, very, very great one-on-one players. Like I said, the number one thing that they both do similar is control the basketball. Luka likes to operate more in the mid post, in the elbow. He will take the step back three and things of that nature. But him being a bigger player, him being a slower player, you don't want Luka Doncic trying to ISO in on the perimeter. That's not what he likes to do, right? Maybe on a player he's more quicker than, like, a bigger player that's guarding him, but he's not really trying to dominate as far as, separate you, give you separation and score from 3-point. That's not really what he's trying to do. He likes to operate in the mid post. He likes to operate in the elbow, and take advantage of his, size on, small guards at his position. Right. Harden would get his stuff off on that perimeter. He'll be able to, score in aspects that, Luka was not as comfortable scoring. Right. One-on-one, if you're talking about just basically those two in a one-on-one battle, I would pay to see that. I think they both have things that be like make you, be wow. Like I said, the playing style of just dominating the basketball, I'm not a big fan of it if I'm playing. But if I'm watching, it's actually pretty exciting to watch because a lot of oohs, a lot of ahs, a lot of ankle breakers, a lot of, different things come in the one-on-one aspect when you have the ball in your hand with two skilled players like this. They both, enjoy those type of matchups. But in comparing these two, I think Harden wins this one because just off the fact, like I said, the way this man can score the basketball in different and effortlessly. I'm talking about if you're a small player, if you're a big player, if you're a slow player, if you're a fast player, if you're whatever defender they used to throw at James Harden, he would make it look like they didn't belong on the court. I can't recall how many times he's made people fall, but he literally, like I said, he's so elusive, he was so explosive with his first step, right? I think he was a better off the ball player as well than Luka Doncic. Again, just one-on-one, I think Harden just has Luka beat, right? As much as I just said Luka Doncic, you can't speed him up. I just think sometimes, even at times, that Harden didn't need as many dribbles as Luka Doncic to get to where he needed to get to, right? And it'll be the same move, the same between the legs crossover, then he got you off a burst of speed. Luka, he's dribbling between his legs, he's doing that same crossover, he's doing a certain amount of pivots and spins. It's taking a longer time for him getting shot off. Vice versa, James Harden he can get to his spot and go. And also that factors into the amount of possessions that Harden can create. Vice versa, Luka. Part of the reason why Harden, in my opinion, had better scoring seasons and things of that nature is off the fact that Harden he's able to get more possessions because of his speed in transition or in the half court that Luka Doncic just doesn't have. So one-on-one basketball, I think Harden plays that style better than Luka, right? So, you know, that's kind of what I want to put out there. Now, I got two more, and I'm gonna let y'all go. I promise. I'm just trying to get everything, out the way. Now, these two are actually pretty, kind of go hand in hand. Um, and that's impact and being a leader. Now, this is why I love what Who is Hendo said in his video. One instance, he said that Luka Doncic is in trouble of possibly missing the playoffs this year. I think the Mavericks are the eighth seed, right? If you go into like the seasons they've been playing, the Mavericks under Luka Doncic, these 6 seasons, 3 out of 6 seasons, he made it to the playoffs, or 3 out of 5 seasons so far they made it to the playoffs. His first season he missed it, and then he missed the playoffs last year with Kyrie Irving. These are the seedings that the Mavericks have been since Luka Doncic has been there. These are the records they done had, right? In the Western Conference. These are the records, and these are basically, the seeding. As y'all can see, like I said, the Mavericks are in a spot right now. Last year they were the 11th spot. They missed the play-in. The year before that, that was their highest seed in 2021-2022. That's when the Mavericks went to the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. And then that was the fourth seed. And the year after that, they're the fifth, then the seventh, then the 14th. Right? So those are his years, if you talk about, get into the postseason. Now we all know the Western Conference is a gauntlet. We do know the Western Conference is something that a lot of players, it's not easy for them to get where they need to get to. So I kind of give people, a little bit of grace about that, but it is what it is when it comes to Luka Doncic in the playoffs, in the regular season. In the playoffs, these are his records in the playoffs: 2 for 4, 3 for 4, 9 for 9 at 500. The farthest he got was the Western Conference Finals. Like I said, he did not qualify last year, and he did not qualify in his rookie year. I don't really put too much stock in his rookie year. We just focus on the second, third. These were this order. Now we're going to leadership. Like I said, being a leader goes into like how you're able to lead your team as the guy. Right, like I said, Luka Doncic came into the league with the team in his hands. Basically, well, I wouldn't say really with the team, because he did have Dennis Smith Jr. there. He had JJ Barea there. He had Dirk. I think his first year, he had Devin Harris. Those guys were still there to kind of tutelage him and teach him the ropes. But he basically had the green light his second season under Rick Carlisle. In that bubble year when he played the Clippers, that was kind of his coming out party. That's when people started noticing who Luka Doncic actually is. Right, that's kind of what people kind of look at Luka Doncic as a player that this is going to be a star player, possibly superstar if he can win a championship. But he basically peaked early. We saw the best of Luka Doncic very early. That's why I say it's not too much more he can do to get better, other than make deep runs into the playoffs. That's pretty much the only thing, right? As far as being a leader, there's a lot of things that go into being a leader. Leading your team into the playoffs is one of them. But also I watch other things, playing defense, being able to do the things to actually enhance your teammates to be better. Because you already know Luka. Luka knows he's a great player within himself. So it goes from being him, being able to get what he needs to get, to what it makes his teammates better. Right. So if we're looking at just his seasons he's played with the Mavericks, first the excuse was that Luka Doncic, didn't have enough help. Well, he gets Kyrie Irving last year and they still missed the playoffs. So something is going on with Luka Doncic and what he's doing that is just not working with Dallas. You got the second star that you needed, right? You didn't make the playoffs last year, and you're in danger of not making the playoffs this year. You're going to be in the play-in, right? So the excuse was only just, let's wait until he gets like a star player beside him, and he still is not being able to, get where he needs to get to, which is over a top 4 seed. It kind of becomes to be able to raise your eyebrows a little bit. Okay, we need to start looking at Luka Doncic a little bit deeper. The same way we look at Jason Tatum over there on the Celtics, who's actually made it to the conference finals 4 seasons out of his 6 years, and made it to the NBA finals. No matter who the coach is, we have to start looking at Luka Doncic in the same light, because all I keep hearing with Luka Doncic, similar to Joel Embiid, what he does in the regular season, Right now, he had one good run in the playoffs with Jalen Brunson right there. But like I said, it's time for Luka Doncic to start having better seasons and get into the playoffs if he's going to be in that top 5 discussion, which I don't think he is at this point. I think he's right outside the top 5. I think he's like I would say about 6. Because again, like I like two-way players. I like guys that's able to lead their teams. And if you're not winning, you need to be criticized. Now, I say that to say this: Harden, if you're talking about leadership and talking to some of his teammates and the teammates he done had, and what he was able to take to the conference finals, take to the deep runs into the playoffs, Harden has never missed the playoffs in his career. That's another fun fact. Out of his 15 seasons, we're in his 15th season right now, he's gonna make the playoffs this year. Harden has never missed the playoffs in his NBA career. He's always made the postseason. No matter if he's the star player, no matter if he's the second best player, whatever the case may be, he's always made the postseason. He's never gonna ever and be in the Western Conference and have a losing record. Even when he first got to the Houston Rockets, he always made sure to make the playoffs. Right? No matter who's on his team, no matter who's on his roster, if he has stars, if he has role players, James Harden is not missing the postseason in the West. As y'all can see, those are his records in Houston from 2012 all the way to 2020. Right? James Harden is not missing the postseason ever in the Western Conference. Some of those records that they had, 65 wins, 55 wins, 56 wins, 54 wins, 53. Like, you can count one thing with James Harden is him making the postseason. That's one thing you can always count on him. You can always count on him making the postseason. You can always count on him actually leading the Rockets at that time to deep runs in the postseason and the playoffs. As you can see, first seed, second seeds, third seeds, fourth seeds, 3 separate times. He had less than a 4th seed twice in his career, twice with the Rockets, and they still made the playoffs in the 8th seed. And if you look at those rosters, they were not filled with star players. A lot of people like to bring up Chris Paul came there. That's when he made to the conference finals. Well, James Harden made to the conference finals without Chris Paul back in 2015? Right? They lost to the Warriors. James Harden already made to the conference finals. Luka Doncic has never with Kyrie Irving right there at age, I think, was he Kyrie 31, who was a younger version of Chris Paul at this time or around the same age. If we're gonna compare and contrast, we can say that James Harden had success getting to the Western Conference with a Chris Paul who was aging, not in his prime. Comparing that to Luka Doncic, who has a Kyrie Irving who's getting put out in play-ins and being the 8th seed. It's like I said, sometimes I remember hearing somebody say this. We actually, you know what I'm saying, need to look at Luka Doncic a little bit deeper. If you're looking at what James Harden has done in the postseason, he's had playoff runs. He's had winning playoffs. Like I said, 9 for 8, 9-8, 6-5, 11-6, 6-5. Of course, he's had some bad playoff runs, but for the most part, he's had, what I'm saying, at least 4, very, very good to deep runs. So, leadership, impact, those two go hand in hand. And when you talk about as far as a winning aspect and being able to get to, the postseason, at least be competitive and have winning seasons, I mean, you gotta give it to James Harden, because Harden, again, like I just mentioned, he has never missed the postseason. Luka Doncic has already missed 2 postseasons, and he's in danger of missing another one if they can't get out the play-in. So that's going to be half of his career. He's done missed the postseason. You can't use the excuse it's because he didn't have any help, because now I'm hearing from Dallas Mavericks fans that this is probably the best team he's probably had around him. He had a Jalen Brunson who right now is in New York balling and keeping them in the postseason. So we have to kind of have that discussion about Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, 'cause, you know, he had a Jalen Brunson who right now is in New York balling and keeping them in the postseason. So we have to kind of have that discussion about Luka Doncic. So you know, we have to kind of have that discussion about Luka Doncic. 'Cause, you know, he had a Jalen Brunson who right now is in New York balling and keeping them in the postseason. So you know, we have to kind of have that discussion about Luka Doncic. 'Cause, you know, he had a Jalen Brunson who right now is in New York balling and keeping them in the postseason. So you know, we have to kind of have that discussion about Luka Doncic. Now I want to talk about one more aspect, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. So we're gonna stick on the impact, you know what I'm saying, aspect. One of the biggest things that James Harden has over his head, he's not a playoff performer. He chokes in the postseason. Now, like I said before, in order for you to get to that level of choking, you must get to a level that gives you opportunity for you to choke. A lot of reasons why we're not seeing some of these other quote unquote players like SGA, like De'Aaron Fox, like Ja Morant, like who else are we looking at as guys who are kind of just coming up? Um, Trey Young had a nice little run, but he hasn't really had it consistently. A lot of these guys who are one hit wonders, guys who are just, still trying to, establish their career, just kind of new coming out the block, they haven't had the opportunity to choke because they have not gotten there far enough to choke. We haven't seen them on those type of stages. So it's easy for somebody to kind of miss that they don't perform. It's easy for somebody to actually um um it's easy for somebody to actually, you know what I'm saying, give that type of, you know what I'm saying, whatchamacallit, that type of, credence to somebody without actually kind of putting some more detail on it. Um Harden, again, we know has had bad games in the playoffs. In the Spurs, the game six in I think 2017 where he had that bad closeout game against the Spurs. I think he had, I want to say 10 points, bad game. We do know game six against the Sixers in 2022, he had a bad closeout game. We do know all those type of, people remember those type of closeouts, right? We do understand that. But like I kind of mentioned the other day, a lot of these players, if you look throughout their careers, have had bad closeout games. If you've been in the playoffs year in and year out, you're gonna have a game that's just gonna not be your best game. It's just part of the numbers. If you've been there long enough, it's just gonna fall in your favor, right? Luka, like I said, people are starting to kind of see now that we're gonna start seeing Luka Doncic is, skeletons in his closet as well because you know, him not making the postseason and him being in danger of not making it again, people are starting to have a side eye. Okay, well, what's going on with Luka, right? It's hard to, continuously be great every single year. Now, if you talk about the playoff performances, these are some of the playoffs they done had, or the playoffs they done had. Like with Harden, you look in the postseason, statistically wise, these are some of his better seasons in the postseason. 2020, 29 points per game, 7.7 assists, 5.6 in 12 games in the playoffs. That's in 2020, and that was in the bubble. You look at the year before that, he averaged 31 points, 6.8 rebounds, 6.6 assists in 11 games in the playoffs, right? So these are, two of his better years. And then the year before that, the year I felt they should have possibly got to the finals and won, he averaged 28.6, 6.8 assists and 5.2 rebounds in 17 games. Now, like I said, the big knock on James Harden is that he's a playoff choker, right? He's a guy that doesn't play well. I don't really know what it means because really, like I said, choking, you have to get to a certain level to be able to have the opportunity to choke. One thing that I think gets over people's heads about James Harden is how consistent he was and is when it talks about being in the postseason. When you talk about having a postseason record, James Harden has a better postseason record than Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Jimmy Butler. Guys around his age, for the most part, he has been better and more successful in the playoffs. He's been better. The only players that are around his age that he's actually doesn't have a better win percentage is Kevin Durant and Steph Curry and Kawhi Leonard. Those are like the every single year top 5 players. Those are the only players that have a better record than James Harden in the postseason. So I think sometimes people have got a little bit spoiled with the amount of consistency Harden is in the regular season. So when he has like a series or when he has a playoff run like this, or he's scoring at this rate, it kind of, gets a little bit swept under the rug because we're so used to have him having historic, regular seasons. some of the expectations on Harden is a little bit, you know what I'm saying, over the board. I mean, 31 points. I mean, I don't know when is that considered choking. But we can look at a Luka Doncic who does the same thing. This was his best playoff performance statistically wise, which was one season. After that year, we're talking about Luka Doncic as he's a top 5 player year in, year out. I don't think Luka Doncic's top 5. He hasn't had enough seasons in the postseason to be able to have that title. Like I said, I don't think he's better than Kawhi Leonard. I don't think he's better than Luka Doncic. I don't think that he's better than Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Steph Curry, of course, right now is going through a slump, but even before this season, you could put Steph Curry over Luka Doncic. Now you talk about some of these other guys who are, you know, either in the same tier, like Joel Embiid, who has a great regular season but does not come to perform in the playoffs. You can put Luka Doncic possibly over Joel Embiid in the postseason, but in the regular season, you can put Joel Embiid over Luka Doncic. You can put Jimmy Butler over Luka Doncic. Now, this may be a very not a very, you know, popular one, but like I said, I like two-way players, and when you are winning consistently, that means a lot to me. It's more than just numbers and raw stats for me to put somebody over somebody else. Can you carry your team no matter who's around you? Do you need certain assistance for you to be great? And for the last 4 or 5 seasons, Miami Heat, led by Jimmy Butler, has been successful in the postseason. No matter if they're the 8th seed, if they're the 1st seed, if they're in the middle of the pack, they are very successful. You can put that on Eric Spoelstra, but Jimmy Butler is the one leading that team. Right? Luka Doncic is having players on his team and they can't even make it out the playoffs, or they can't even make it to the playoffs. No matter how much he's averaging in the postseason, something is not successfully going when it comes to Luka Doncic with the Dallas Mavericks. And I think one of the aspects is his leadership. He doesn't like to play defense and take those type of challenges. Right? That's not what he likes to do. He's not going to do that. You have to fit around him for him to be the best version of himself. I remember saying this before. It's hard for Luka Doncic to play with great players beside him. How do you get a Kyrie Irving and get worse? It's because he can only play in one way. He needs the ball in his hands the majority of the times. I think Kyrie Irving is a better basketball player than Luka Doncic, meaning I think he can get the most out of his teammates more than Luka Doncic. I think Kyrie Irving can lead his team better than Luka Doncic. And we know, in my opinion, Harden's a better player than Kyrie Irving. So if Kyrie can get more out of his teammates than Luka Doncic is, and that might be because of his age or whatever, but like I said, we're getting pretty close to the point where Luka Doncic in the next year or two, we can't use age as an excuse no more. He'll be 25, 26. We can't use that as an excuse. If he's still doing the same thing he's doing now, missing the play-in or getting below the 4th seeds, now we got to start judging Luka Doncic differently now. But now, as far as with Harden and Luka, I think people demonize James Harden for the same thing Luka Doncic does. For everyone says Luka Doncic is, you know, so dominant and can do this, that, and the other on the court. Harden got the excuse of him just being ball dominant and killing the offense. But yet the difference is Harden was getting his team to the conference finals. Harden was getting his team to the playoffs every single year. Harden was, you know what I'm saying, controlling the tempo. With your eyes, you can kind of watch. The Rockets were getting more possessions with James Harden leading the point guard. Another great point that Hendo made last night, he don't feel like James Harden, that Luka can do what James Harden is doing right now with the Clippers. Luka cannot come to a team and completely change his game, which is another thing that people miss with Harden. Harden has changed his game at least 3 different times. He went from being the 6th man in OKC, playing defense and scoring when he needed to score, to Houston for him being like an offensive guru, proving that he can have his own team and be very, very effective, be one of the best scorers we have ever seen, while being a very, very good playmaker. To now with the Clippers and the Brooklyn Nets, if you want to put the Nets in there, to being an elite playmaker and setting other guys up. He has changed his game at least 3 different times, right? He has changed his game 3 different times, and it's been effective. The Sixers, he led the league in assists last year, right? He got Joel Embiid, in my opinion, has made the MVP more and more. Um, he made the MVP easier for Joel Embiid to get. So he Harden. People do not. I don't think people understand how great of a basketball player Harden was. Like, to be at this age and be able to change your game 3 times like that and still be very, very effective and be able to help assist your team the way he's doing. I don't think people understand how special that is. Luka, on the other hand, he's basically played the same way his entire, Dallas is his team. The ball going through him. He's going to control the tempo how he wants to control. He's not going to play defense. Now, let me say this. I have seen him get a tad bit better on defense and trying, but he just doesn't have the one-on-one. He doesn't have the physical gifts to be a very, very good defender. He's going to be at best average, and that's just basically off of his size and being able to body up other players. But he's not going to ever be a great defensive player. Harden was a very, very good defender. He's still, to this day, I've seen that he actually will play very, very good defense, stripping the ball, playing in the post, things of that nature. So, in conclusion, if you ask me who's the better player and who is more and more, I'm saying, a better version, I mean, to me, is James Harden. Scoring, impact, defense. I didn't say clutch. I don't. I would say clutch wise, I would probably give it to. I would probably surprisingly give it to Luka. When I say clutch making, shots making, I think Luka. His how can I put this? His shot making. Now, clutch can be many things, but as far as his shot making, I'm not saying he's a better raw scorer than James Harden, but I recall him playing against us in the playoffs twice, and he was cooking everybody on the team outside of Kawhi, even Paul George, who's a great two-way player. It's like because of his girth and his size, he took advantage of every single matchup. And even Kawhi had times where, Luka would, post him up, and Kawhi is strong as hell. Luka will kind of have, the advantage there as well. So, and he would not be afraid of taking, I'm saying, big shots. Now his free throw shooting definitely takes a hit for the clutch, but I think in the clutch with the ball in his hands, Luka's very, very deadly against, pretty much everybody in the league. I think Harden is the same way, but I think Luka's just a tad more deadlier. Leader, I think is James Harden, off the fact, like I said, he can take his team farther than what Luka Doncic has done. IQ, Luka, impact, I think is Harden not even close, because just like I said, like, he's able to get the more out of his teammates. Again, Harden had role players in Houston for the most part, still taking them to the conference finals. Luka cannot do that. Even that's the best way he plays, with him having the ball and him having role players. He's not going to take his team to the conference finals year in, year out. He's not doing that. So I think the impact goes to Harden. The one-on-one goes to Harden. The career, you can't really compare, because if one player's had more time on the court. But just off the fact, like I said, man, the main point is that Harden gets demonized for the same thing that Luka Doncic gets praised for. And we're going to actually have to start really, really evaluating Luka much differently within the next year or two, if he continuously has these bad, if he can put out the playoffs. He has no more help, because that's all I kept hearing when we kept putting him out in the postseason. It's because he said he needs another player. Okay, well, you got your second player. You got Kyrie Irving right there. You got, players that they move for you in the offseason to try to get some help around you. If you're really that guy, and you're really top 5, you should be able to go up against a Kawhi Leonard now and beat him. You should be able to go up against a Kevin Durant and beat him. You should be able to go up against players at your position and beat them. If you can't, you're not that type. You're not that player to me, right? But y'all let me know what y'all think. I know this is a little bit of a long, lengthy video, but I wanted to kind of put that out there. Who's the better version, Luka Doncic or James Harden? We'll be back on, tomorrow with LA Clipper talk. Actually, no, not tomorrow. What's this? Probably Monday because we have a back-to-back game. So I will be back on, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Pull up a seat, pull up a chair, put it live.